thinking about Pittsburgh Steelers possible coaches for 2026 and beyond. Um, I've wanted part of the reason I've wanted to avoid this for a long time is because A, love Mike Tomlin, support Mike Tomlin until the end, but also I've seen so many teams as a general NFL fan, but a friend of fans who have been fans of bad teams. And I'm like, gosh, there's so many things, there's so many ways this could go wrong. Do I have to see a Brian Callahan or a Nate Hackett or I don't, I mean, gosh, Cliff Kingsbury, right? Gosh, do I have to literally see Cliff Kingsbury? There's so many ways this could go wrong. Here's kind of what I'm seeing online right now. There's a lot of Chris Shula mentions. Now, if you've been listening to me over on Pro Football Enterprises, which hey, shout out if you're here on Pro Football Enterprises. I'm pretty sure this is going up there. So shout out to Ben, shout out to you listeners, this audience. Thank you all so much for being here. Um, I like Chris Shula as a potential hire. I like the fact that he coached under Wes Phillips for a really long time. I like the fact that he coached under Sean McVay for a really long time. He saw really good head coaches, um, and he saw really good defenses. He's been around Raheem Morris, who again has ties to Mike Tomlin. Obviously, there's just a lot there that I like. So that's a name that's mentioned. I like the potential staff of, hey, he has connections to Raheem Morris, and Raheem Morris is free agent. Maybe Morris comes in as a guy who's can be the DC, has DC'd good teams, has been a head coach, can help him along there. OC, Mike LaFleur. I liked LaFleur with the Jets the first year and a half or 2.5 years, whatever it was, with Saleh and the Jets. I liked what he did. They had a pretty decent run game. Um, he went back to the McVay school, right? So those years there, what he already did with the Jets, still really young. Like I like that kind of trio. I think there's something to that. Um, Shula's been talked about. Marcus Freeman's been talked about, the Notre Dame head coach. I'm out on the college thing, right? I've seen the Signetti stuff as well. I'm out on that. I don't need that. Um, I'll tell you the name that was meant that came to my head first, and is as of I don't know, this afternoon at some time. Jamie Eisner had this. Odds to be the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. The favorite was Brian Flores plus 300. That was my first thought. Obviously his time in Pittsburgh, his defensive mindset. I kind of think this is going to be a defensive coach, based on what's the, and if you look at the favorites, man, I mean, Flores is plus 300. Jesse Minter we'll talk about plus 400. Shula plus 500. Anthony Weaver plus 600. Sala plus 800. Halfley plus 900. It's all defensive guys. You don't get to an offensive guy until Kevin Stefanski at 16 to 1, or I guess Antoine Randall, shout out, 14 to 1. Um, this feels a little bit like how I felt about the Jets last year, where bringing in a defensive coach because you have talent on that defense and you have to make that work. This is the most expensive defense in the NFL. You have one of two options. You have bring in someone who, whether he's a defensive minded coach or someone that's going to bring a good defensive mind with him, you bring somebody that's going to make that defense worth being the highest paid defense in the NFL, or you start moving on from some defense players. Now, that's not what we're here to talk about, but I've seen that out there as well, and that's certainly a thought. But Brian Flores, I paired him with Brian Daboll as his OC. Bring some New England stuff, which would be a little bit of a twist of the knife, but that's okay. Brian Flores, Brian Daboll, a potential DC there. I mean, you could still do a Raheem Morris, but probably, I mean, I think Morris would be fine working with Flores and letting him do his thing defensively. But I've talked about like Denard Wilson potentially if he's not retained by whoever's in Tennessee. Anthony Weaver is a possibility if he's not retained. I imagine he'll be retained in Miami, but we'll see. Um, but Flores and Daboll would be an interesting pairing from a head coach and OC perspective. Um, Other names that I've talked about, so Flores, Jesse Minter is a name that I didn't give a lot of credence to early on in the carousel process, but it seems like he's destined to get one of these jobs. And man, if he's kind of the next Mike McDonald, even more than Shula is, I'm definitely interested in that. I've been working on like what a staff for him could look like. Shane Day is a really respected quarterback coach that is over there with the Chargers and Minter right now. Um, Matt Weiss is a guy from Michigan who is their currently, I believe, their co-offensive coordinator, and quarterback coach, and he has a long history of coaching with the Harbaughs. as well. He was also on the Ravens staff with Minter when they were younger. Some defensive guys that have connections to Minter. If you wanted a DC, a Wink Martindale, bring him back to the AFC North. He's obviously been there with Michigan. Chuck Pagano is in Baltimore and has ties to Minter through that. Navarro Bowman and Steve Clinkscale are guys with the Chargers now, I believe, that Minter is working with. Um, and then I threw this one in there. I didn't do a lot of special teams coaches pairings, but there's a Harbaugh that's a special teams coach. The Seahawks special teams coordinator is Jay Harbaugh, so that would be funny. Um, but yeah, so Minter is one, Shula is one, Flores is one. I didn't really consider Halfley for the Steelers. I think it's going to be someone a little bit younger. I'm not sure if the Halfley to Flores, what that age difference is. But Flores just has the ties to Pittsburgh. But Halfley would be interesting, especially because I've paired him with Mike McDaniel in the past. If McDaniel doesn't get a head coach position, but I don't think McDaniel's going to end up working for Halfley because he's gotten so many head coach interviews that I understand, but I don't think I expected everybody to be as in on McDaniel. So I think he's either going to get one of these really good OC jobs or a head coach job. But like he's interviewing with like the Lions and Commanders, teams with really good infrastructures, really good quarterbacks. I don't think McDaniel would go with Halfley to Pittsburgh where there's not a quarterback after he just did the Tua thing, right? So I don't think that one would necessarily happen. And Halfley, I don't know what his connections would be and who he would be able to get as an OC. But that's why I like Flores with Dayball because I don't know how quickly Dayball is going to turn around and get a head coach job. So that would be nice. Um, Shula with LaFleur. I don't know how fast LaFleur would get one. Um, I just mentioned Minter and whatever he would end up doing as a OC. I don't know how quickly that would get turned around, right? So I'm trying to also think about who's an OC that might stick around for a little bit longer if it's an offensive minded guy. Um, but if there was a head coach candidate from the offensive side of the ball, Stefanski would be interesting, man. Just bring that Stefanski staff, Schwartz and Reese, and he's obviously had good coaches with him in the past as well. I do think that would be interesting. So Stefanski was on my list, and like McDaniel's on. I don't think I would actually like Mike McDaniel to be the head coach of the Steelers. I think just the way, and we don't know this, right? We don't know if the way the team was built and everything was completely in his image, or that if that was partly Greer, if that was partly McDaniel thinking what would be best with Tua. But just the fact that they just did not do good come wintertime, man, you can't bring McDaniel to the Steelers again unless he was going to be somebody's OC, in which case maybe he would. Um, and then the last one, Joe Brady with Buffalo. I would really like that one. I've been looking at Brady for a couple seasons now. He obviously was great in LSU. I thought he did really well in those Carolina years under a rule before he got scapegoated. Um, I really like what he did with Buffalo, where he moved them from the Dorsey spread and shred system to hey, extra offensive lineman, run game, and then we also have the monster quarterback. But he's worked with Burrow, he's worked with Allen, um, but he is a like run first, and the Steelers were great this year in their jumbo package, right? So extra offensive lineman, Spencer Anderson, invest in the offensive line, invest in the run game. So I think Joe Brady, and I've connected him with Ryan Nielsen, who is a DC from the Saints days and Falcons, and he's a defensive assistant with the Bills. So I would definitely like him as a DC potentially with that. OC I don't have for Brady because that's hard, right? Because he's a young play caller. He would want to probably keep play calling duties. So who could you get that would be interesting to be the OC for a play calling offensive minded head coach? I don't know. I don't have a great one for that. Um, if can I think of one just off the cuff right now? Like could Thomas Brown want to do that as a guy who hasn't been a just true OC right for a while, but he's getting interviews with places he would be a play caller probably, so probably not. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury would want to come do that without play calling. Um, maybe one of the like Shane Day, like I mentioned, is a quarterback coach. Maybe he would want to come be an OC even if he wasn't calling plays. The who's the guy that Davis Webb. Davis Webb with the Broncos. So spending time under Sean Payton. Sean Payton like plucked him out of Davis Webb thought he was going to retire for a little bit as a journeyman backup quarterback. Sean Payton said, "No, you're joining my staff." Could Webb come in and be a for Joe Brady or for anybody? Maybe you don't call plays, but you're the OC and title. You're putting together the game plan, but you are in charge of our quarterback, right? Um, so I think those would be kind of the ilks. Guys who have been passing game coordinators, maybe had OC for a short period of time. Remember Thomas Brown with the Bears. was quarterback coach, OC, head coach. So he never really got a season to call plays there. He was in Carolina as OC, but quickly had the Frank Reich thing back and forth, who was calling plays, who wasn't. Then Reich was gone, and it was a whole thing there. So would he like a year of being OC even without play calling duties from a Joe Brady? There's just a couple names there. But from a head coach perspective, names I'm watching, and these are the ones I think I want. I've again, if you're here on Pro Football Enterprises, you've heard me on the show a couple times talk about these things. If you know me or listen to me, you know I really care about the carousel and I really enjoy it. So Flores, Minter, Shula, Brady, Stefanski, long shots of Mike McDaniel, and just because I mentioned before, Declan Doyle, bring him in for an interview. Bring him in for an interview. Um, See what he's got because Declan Doyle also worked with Sean Payton, is working with Ben Johnson now. He just feels like he's the next young hotshot kind of guy. Um, Again, he's never even been a play caller, so that would be pretty rich. But could you get him in here? Like if Stefanski didn't want to call plays, can you bring Doyle in to be a play caller? Minter, like maybe that's my deal for Minter. Minter, Doyle, and Doyle gets to call offense. Minter gets to call defense. Um, you can make that pairing anywhere really, but Flores and Shula I had kind of OCs already in mind. So, but those are the five: Stefanski, Brady, Shula, Minter, Flores, with McDaniel and Doyle kind of being more long shots. All right. That's about 30 minutes. I'm going to wrap it up there. If you're here on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment with any of your Tomlin thoughts. I mean, if you're a Steeler fan, you're probably can probably already turned this off when you heard I was a Tomlin fan. But if you're still listening all the way through, whether you like Tomlin or not, especially by the end, thank you. We'll love to chat. If you have semi nice things to say, um, even if you disagree with me though, like if you just want to talk about it, I'm happy to do that. Um, Subscribe to the channel. We have draft stuff, we have NFL stuff, general. Like if you just found me based on looking for Steelers reaction, I do NFL things all over. I do all sorts of NFL things, but Steelers are my favorite team. So this was obviously something I had to get on and do kind of on its own. Box Score Network, follow, subscribe to that. Here, I'll give you a quick little plug for Box Score. Here's everything on Box Score. If you're here on Pro Football Enterprises channel for this last bit of the segment, thank you for being here. Shout out to Ben right there. Coaching carousel is always fun to talk about. But check out our other pods. Check out Box Score Network. You'll get all your draft coverage there as we get closer to the draft. Um, and then if you're here on audio, this in your feed, you're like, wow, there's a Wednesday show. It's only 30 minutes. What's going on? This is just the Mike Tomlin instant reaction. I'm sure I will have more Tomlin thoughts. I'm recording tomorrow night with Ben, so this is out Wednesday. Thursday, you're going to get a normal episode of the Simon and Friends podcast. I'm sure Ben and I will talk more about Tomlin. I'll have more to say that's a little more thought out, but I had to get on and do this for myself mostly, but you all as well a little bit. So thank you all so much. We will talk to you again soon. We will be back just tomorrow. So be right back. Subscribe, like, get that notification when this week's episode drops, and we will talk to you soon. So everyone, thank you. Have fun and be safe out there.